The Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. I said that with conviction, but I'm going to be honest with you. I have a confession. I'm really not saying it with the same conviction that I have all season long. That was my prediction before the season. I'm having some doubts at this point with 4 games to go in the season because both my Super Bowl teams have problems, maybe fatal problems. Okay, last offseason, I'm pretty sure I was the first to report this because I think I was the only one to report that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown were having a big, bad problem that led to the Eagles' collapse last season. They were 10-1, and they lost their last 6 games and lost a playoff game at Tampa because of this big, bad problem between the quarterback and the star receiver. I did not detail what the problem is, though I have heard the gory details. They're just too personal for me to go public with. And I don't know the exact extent of exactly how it transpired, but I do know the impact of it on both players. Not a pretty sight. Same source told me later in the offseason, heading into this season, that they had sort of mended the fence, that they had forgiven each other if they hadn't forgotten. But now I'm starting to wonder if that's true, because even though the Eagles are on a roll, it's been more and more of a running roll, a run Saquon roll, because Jalen Hurts on Sunday in Philadelphia against those now upstart Panthers threw for a grand total of 108 yards. What, 108? Jalen Hurts? AJ caught 4 balls for 43, but a couple of times he looked incredibly frustrated with his quarterback. One time, he showed up his quarterback on an overthrow. He threw up his hands like, what are you doing? Another time he went to the sidelines and threw his helmet in frustration. And after the game, when he was asked about it, what's the problem? He said, our passing game is the problem. Translation, our quarterback is the problem. A lethal comment. Can you fix it? He was asked. Well, we don't really communicate that well, so we can't fix it during the game. Uh-oh. You don't? Really? And then the Eagles' Brandon Graham, he's injured, but he's a leader. This is what he had to say publicly this week. And I quote, the person that's complaining needs to be accountable. That's AJ. I don't know the whole story, but I know that Jalen is trying, and AJ could be a little better with how he responds to things. Thank you. Still quoting. They were friends before this, said Brandon Graham, but things have changed. Uh-oh. And I understand that because life happens, but it's the business side, and we have to make sure the personal doesn't get in the way of the business. Thank you, Brandon Graham. I cannot applaud those remarks enough because they are dead on correct. What's happening between Jalen and AJ again, because the old wound is festering again, could be lethal for the Eagles again. And the onus is on the receiver to stop it and shelf it and swallow it and forget about it and check it at the locker room door every single game day. Check it at the door. You guys are loaded. You have the best defense in pro football. You have a quarterback who just makes plays. He's not the most spectacular. He's not the best thrower of the football. He's not the quickest or fastest, but he can move. And he is strong of body and of soul. Extreme intangibles has Jalen Hurts. You have enough, A.J. Brown, to go win the Super Bowl. It's sitting right in your lap, but you've got to swallow your pride and your past with Jalen, and you've got to move forward. It's up to you to fix this. And I'll never forget what Michael Irvin, the great Cowboy receiver, has told me on many occasions back to the days I covered Michael's Cowboys team. It can never be the quarterback's fault. Michael was adamant about this. He never crossed Troy Aikman. If Troy spat back at him, complained, criticized a route that Michael ran or a drop, Michael said he just swallowed it because Troy is the quarterback. Troy's got the sugar in his hands. He decides where the sugar is going to be thrown. You can't cross the quarterback. You can't second guess the quarterback. You just have to swallow it. Let him be in a bad mood because you can't be. You play a dependent position called receiver. You're only as good as the quarterback makes you. It's up to you, AJ. You've got to stop this. You got to nip it in the bud before you go on one of those losing jags that derails your whole season, because you got problems enough, which brings me to my other problem that also involve the Ravens. As you know, I hate field goal kicking. It's gimmicky. It's silly. We let some little guy who can't play football run onto the field and decide games, big playoff games, by trying to boot a ball up between these weird, funny-looking uprights. What? What are we doing? I say abolish it. I like punting. It's strategic, but just go for it. Just make teams go for it and then go for two. We don't need field goal kicking, but we're stuck with it. It's exciting for all the wrong reasons, and it's gotten real scary exciting for both the Ravens and the Eagles. Because let's start with the Ravens. The GOAT kicker, Justin Tucker, he's lost it. I called for his job the other day because once field goal kickers lose it during the season, you can't get them back. They had a bye week. They should have replaced him, but no, they're going to ride with him because they've ridden with him so long, and he was the greatest until the last 2 years. But this year, he's really struggling, and it's only getting worse and worse and worse. He's a grand total of 19 of 27 on the year, but here's the scary part. Outside of 40 yards, Justin Tucker, the quote-unquote GOAT, now that belongs to Brandon Aubrey, Justin Tucker outside the 40 is 9 of 17. 9 of 17? Killer. Season wrecker. If it comes down to a field goal, as you know it will in a playoff game, good night and good luck to the Baltimore Ravens. Not going to work. Justin Tucker is now 4 of 9 outside of 50 yards, which brings me back to the Eagles. Jake Elliott is 0 of 5 beyond 50 yards. In this day and age, 50-yard field goals are the equivalent of just kicking a can up the road. They might as well be extra points for my kicker, Brandon Aubrey. He just flicks them through from 55, 60, 65, like it's nothing. So the GOAT, Justin Tucker, is 4 of 9 outside 50, but Jake Elliott of the Eagles is 0 of 5 outside 50. That could be fatal. I don't like either situation, but I'm going to hang in. I'm going to hang on. Even though they'll probably kick me in the stomach, I'll say it again. The Eagles will beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl.